If I know that in this hotel room they have food every day, and I'm knocking on the door every day to eat, and they open the door.
You see, the trouble is that we all live in a happy ending culture. A what should be culture instead of a what is culture. We're all taught that fantasy. But if we were taught this is what is, I think we'd be less screwed up.
Let me see the party. Let me see like them throwing salami all over the, I mean, just like throwing food around. They're telling me there's no food in here.
I'm talking about the real owners now. The real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. They own all the important land.
Mayor McCheese approaches. Does it bother anyone in this town that their mayor is also their biggest developer? No one smells that stench?
Oh yeah, this shit is gonna make his head explode.
They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets.
People's and the judges calling you defendant.
And they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear.
Me in the media, they don't talk about it. So in my raps, I have to talk about it.
They got you by the balls.
Beef don't come with a radio edit.
Nope. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want.
Congressman? Michael Moore. How are you doing? Good, good. Trying to get members of Congress to get their kids to enlist in the Army and go over to Iraq.
They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking.
Is it just because people are lazy today or they're bored? I mean, are we just like bored, spoiled children who've just been lying in the bathtub all day, just playing with their plastic duck, and now they're just thinking, well...
No nepotism here. Well, except for the obvious nepotism.
It doesn't matter anyway, because the counselors told me it's society's fault, not my fault.
We are bored. We're all bored now. But has it ever occurred to you, Wally, that the process that creates this boredom that we see in the world now may very well be a self-perpetuating, unconscious form of brainwashing created by a world totalitarian government based on money?
Death and hatred to mankind, poisoning their brainwashed minds. Oh, Lord, yeah.
Because of society, right?
Yes, George, because of society.
And that all of this is much more dangerous than one thinks. And it's not just a question of individual survival, Wally, but that somebody who's bored is asleep, and somebody who's asleep will not say no.
They don't want that. You know what they want? They want obedient workers. Obedient workers. People who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork.
At Tower 5, we man our stations to greet the new day's consumers.
Welcome to Pop Songs.
For the next 19 hours, we input orders, tray food, vend drinks, upstock condiments, wipe tables, and bin garbage.
And just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, the longer hours, the reduced benefits, the end of overtime.
Come on, beefers weren't working, niggas can't find jobs.
And the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they're coming for your Social Security money. They want your fucking retirement money. They want it back so they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all from you sooner or later because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club.
Hey, come on. Invite me, please. I won't tell anybody anything. I've heard you guys are pretty awesome.
You know what I'm saying? Every day, I'm standing outside trying to sing my way in. You know what I'm saying? We are hungry, please let us in. We are hungry, please let us in.
By the way, it's the same big club they used to beat you over the head with.
Bad kitty. Bad Mr. Kitty. Bad. Bad kitty. No more memeing.
All day long, beating you over the head in their media, telling you what to believe.
The morals were always, if you're good, and if you follow the rules, you don't lie, and you don't cheat. If you're good, you'll get good things. And if you're a dick, you get punished.
Human behavior. That's what I like. Humans do some really interesting things.
I've dwelt among the humans. Their entire culture is built around their penises. It's funny to say they're small. It's funny to say they're big.
The table is tilted, folks. The game is rigged.
But what if the people who made up those stories are the dicks?
This is my rifle, this is my gun, this is so fly, and this is so fun. Politicians hide themselves away. They only started the war.
Of course, not a single member of Congress wanted to sacrifice their child for the war in Iraq.
Why should they go out to fight? They leave their own to the poor. Yeah.
And nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. Good, honest, hard-working people. White collar, blue collar, doesn't matter what color shirt you have on.
What if the bad people made all that up so the good people never get anything good?
Good, honest, hard-working people continue. These are people of modest means. Continue to elect these rich cocksuckers who don't give a fuck about them.
See, there's not many congressmen that have got kids over there. In fact, only one. You know, so we just thought maybe, you know, you guys should send your kids there first. What do you think about that idea?
Something's got to change. No one trusts you lot, because they know you don't give a shit about anything outside your bubble. What about your mate Gladwell, the kiddie flasher? You knew him for 20 years. Did you not know what he was like?
He's the criminal here. He's the one who should be in jail, not us. That's what I'm talking about. Right?
They don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about you.
After about a week, that song is going to change to, we hungry, we need some food.
You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything.
After 2-3 weeks, it's like, you know, give me all the food, breaking out the door.
They don't care about you at all, at all, at all.
After a year, then you just like, you know what I'm saying, I'm picking the lock, coming through the door, blasting, you know what I'm saying? It's like you hungry, you reached your level, you don't want any more. We asked 10 years ago.
You have kids? Yeah. If any way we can get them to enlist and go over there and help out with the effort?
We was asking with the Panthers. We was asking with them, you know, with civil rights movement. We was asking.
Yeah. You know? And nobody seems to notice, nobody seems to care. That's what the owners count on, the fact that Americans will probably remain willfully ignorant.
Take care of your underwears. I'm gonna you, man.
Of the big red, white, and blue dick that's being jammed up their assholes every day. Because the owners of this country know the truth.
There's a mania, a utopian mania in the heart of, I think, the American spirit, which is like Americans identify with this. It's, you know, and George Carlin did a great job of desiccating it by saying
it's called the American dream because you have to be asleep to believe it.
But I love the American dream, and what's so beautiful about it is it's this idea of like, I think together we can do something new that's going to be better than anything that happened before. And from that spirit, you get all great innovation that goes across all political ideologies, right? So to me, you know, and they always call it, I've always loved that they call it the American experiment. I fucking love that, man, because it's an experiment. It's like, let's see what we could do here together. And for an experiment to work, we need to be able to look at what didn't work.
I was sold to a sick European by a rich African battling middle passages, I can't go back again. Battling years of denied history, lives with mysteries, wives with misty eyes, watching they niggas be beaten viciously.
When you ask what makes us the greatest country in the world, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Yosemite?
You motherfuckers need truth and reconciliation with one another. Because the end of apartheid should have been a fucking bloodbath by any metric in human history, and it wasn't. And the only reason it wasn't is because Desmond Tutu and Mandela and all these guys figured out that if a system is corrupt, then the people who adhere to the system and are incentivized by that system are not criminals. They are victims.
We have to consider the idea that our visitors are prodding us to fight among ourselves until only one faction prevails.
There's no evidence of that.
Sure there is. Just grab a history book. The British with India, the Germans with Rwanda. They even got a name for it in Hungary.
Why should the Russians annex the whole of Europe?
They can't even control Afghanistan. No, if they try anything, it will be salami tactics.
Salami tactics?
Slice by slice. One small piece at a time.
And that the system itself must be tried. But because of how systems work is so compartmentalized as far as information, the only way we can figure out what the system is if everybody says what they did. Tell them how you participated.
There's probably something real wrong with him. He's probably had a fucked up alcoholic dad or something, or some uncle did something to him. It's always something. People that lash out and try to hurt people randomly for no reason are all in pain. You know, it's that old expression, hurt people, hurt people.
Pazuzu murdered people. He destroyed lives. You can't explain that away with Satan and evil. Ain't gonna do anybody any good. You know, first Pazuzu's search warrant sealed, then his safekeeping order sealed, and again, you know, I get the feeling that it's just like we don't want to look at this, we don't want to talk about it. We really don't want to face our collective responsibility for what happened here.
But legislation, I repeat, cannot solve this problem alone. It must be solved in the homes of every American, in every community across our country.
Anthony Bourdain had the greatest job that show business ever produced. This nigga flew around the world and ate delicious meals with outstanding people. That man, with that job, hung himself in a luxury suite in France.
Like, besides killing ourselves, we also kill each other. Murder.
He did what a soldier had to do.
Yeah, you know, I was a good soldier. I was a very good soldier, but a pretty bad human being.
Battling the wilderness in North America, ran by the river, only stopping to pray. Chased by predators, terrorists with etiquette who vote and kill their president. Their capacity for evil so evident and prevalent.
The President of the United States was only 42 years old. Can you imagine? DMX is older than that.
What is to prevent, say, an uprising that can lead to revolution? And then in a fraction of time, the whole system collapses.
It must be a fragile system if it can be brought down by just a few berries.
Yes, it is indeed. But not in the way you imagine it.
How should I imagine?
You should imagine thousands upon thousands of your people dead. This town of yours reduced to ashes. Imagine it gone.
I've always been amazed that the very people forced to live in the worst parts of town, go to the worst schools, and who have it the hardest, are always the first to step up to defend that very system.
Dig what I mean? I'd like to show you people some really dirty pictures that relate to your daughter, my daughter. These are some pictures of the Kennedy assassination.
And he was going to usher in a new era of peace. He was going to avoid the Cold War. He was going to end segregation. And they blew his fucking brains out in front of everyone in Dallas. This country was never the same. There were 7 more major assassinations in the 60s.
You know what's interesting about assassination? Well, not only does it change those popularity polls in a big fucking hurry, but it's also interesting to notice who it is we assassinate. Do you ever notice who it is? Stop to think of who it is we kill. It's always people who've told us to live together in harmony and try to love one another.
We're not just interested in voting so that conditions will be improved for Negroes. We want conditions improved for everybody.
It is not enough to pin the blame on others, to say this is a problem of one section of the country or another, or deplore the facts that we face. A great change is at hand, and our task, our obligation, is to make that revolution, that change, peaceful and constructive for all.
Anyone that stood up and said anything was shot down the streets like a fucking dog. Kennedy, King, X, whatevers, on and on. You didn't even have to be famous. You could be a college student at Kent State or Mississippi protesting the Vietnam War, and they shot them too.
Jesus, Gandhi, Lincoln, John Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy, Martin Luther King, Medgar Evers, Malcolm X, John Lennon, they all said, try to live together peacefully. Bam! Right in the fucking head.
Now in darkness, world stops turning. Ashes where the body's burning.
I want the rebels to know that I'm alive. That I'm in District 8, where the Capitol just bombed a hospital filled with unarmed men, women, and children. And there will be no survivors. If you think for 1 second that the Capitol will ever treat us fairly, you are lying to yourself. Because we know who they are and what they do. This is what they do, and we must fight back.
They think that we'll just sit there and take it like good little boys, that we won't werewolf and go wild.
You finished?
I have a message for President Snow. You can torture us and bomb us and burn our districts to the ground. But do you see that? Fire is catching. And if we burn, you burn with us.
No more war pigs have the power. And as God has struck the hour,